Hi, I'm not sure how I'm supposed to start a video like this, and I've tried to remake this video 3, 4, 5 times at different times, different days, different weeks, but I will start by telling you a story. 18 years ago, my brother had a hamster called Cheesy. He loved Cheesy very, very much, and then when suddenly one day Cheesy was no longer with us, my brother could not stop crying. So much so that my dad decided he would do whatever it took to make my brother stop crying, which even meant my dad agreeing to buy us a puppy. A puppy that my dad was very, very, very against getting our whole life. My brother was really into video games at the time, and he used to have this game called Nintendogs on a game console called Nintendo DS. And in this Nintendogs game, which was a game all about dogs and animals and owning your own, and within this game, my brother had a white Shih Tzu puppy with golden brown ears that he called Peaches. My brother loved this virtual dog Peaches so much that when my dad finally agreed to let us have a real dog for ourselves in our house, naturally, this was the exact kind of dog that my brother wanted to pick. So my mom and brother went searching on the World Wide Web to an online classified website called Kijiji. Is Kijiji still running today? I don't know. I have not seen it in years. But back then, 17 years ago, if you needed to find anything, this site was the place to go. Funny enough, after not much searching, my brother found an ad of a cute husband and wife who had a beautiful Shih Tzu mommy who just so happened to have a litter of Shih Tzu baby puppies. And even crazier than that, they were only a 30-minute drive away. And mind you, my brother was still crying every day at this point because of his tiny little hamster Cheesy that he tragically lost. So me, my mom, and my brother hopped in a car to go look at these puppies. And by the way, my dad definitely did not come because even though he said yes to allowing my brother to have a puppy, my dad hated dogs. After 30 minutes of my ears dying from my brother still crying in the car on the way there, we finally arrive at this lady's doorstep with a printed off sheet of paper of the Kijiji ad of these Shih Tzu puppies. And my brother has already circled the exact Shih Tzu puppy that he wanted. I said, Daniel, don't you want to look at the puppies first? Shouldn't we see which one we like best? He said, no, I want this one. So we walk in this old lady's house. There is the mommy and daddy Shih Tzu puppies coming to the door. Very slowly, mind you, because they are very old. And then I see the old lady start to walk close to us, but with a giant laundry basket in her hand. We go sit down on the floor in her living room. She plops the laundry basket down to the ground, and before I could even think or say a word, I thought somebody was throwing snowballs at us because one by one, you would see a tiny Shih Tzu puppy jumping out of that laundry basket and then having the zoomies running around the whole living room. One puppy jumps out, and then another one, and then another one, another one, another one, and then the entire laundry basket was empty. But it wasn't until we slowly start to get closer to that laundry basket and see that there is just one tiny little puppy left. This tiny puppy was the slowest one of the group, taking his sweet time paw by paw to get out of this laundry basket. He was the youngest out of the whole litter, and that would technically make him the runt of the family. Little paw footstep by little paw footstep, he finally gets out of this laundry basket, walks his 4 cute little paws straight to my brother, cuddles his tiny little face right beside my brother's knees, and then immediately falls asleep. My brother asks the lady whose house we're at, which Shih Tzu puppy is this one that I circled right here. And then she points down to the puppy cuddled right in between my brother's leg and says that one. At this point, it was easy to figure out that that was the puppy that my brother chose. So we brought him home. My brother named him Peaches. And my dad would not even look at him. Yes, he agreed to getting my brother a dog, but that doesn't mean my dad liked dogs, wanted anything to do with dogs, wanted to spend money on dogs, and quite frankly, just didn't like dogs. But my brother and I didn't care because at this point, we already got the dog. My dad doesn't have to like my dog. I have a dog now. And today is the best day of my whole life. And you know what? Thank you, Daniel, for crying so much. Because your little real crocodile tears just scored us our new BFF that we will now have forever for all these years. Now, Peaches immediately became my best friend, while at the same time immediately became my dad's worst enemy. He was going to the bathroom in the house. He was scratching our furniture, biting on our clothes. But even with Peaches' young, mischievous behaviors, he is the sweetest, most loving, biggest kissing dog you have ever seen. Because seriously, you put any type of hand, arm, face close to that dude, and he will be licking it like an ice cream cone. From that day forward, my whole life revolved around Peaches. I did everything with him. I have known and spent more time with Peaches more than lots of my friends, more than some of my family members. And now, 17 years later, I do not know a life without my dog. This is not supposed to be a sad story. It is a happy story of a dog who needed a home and chose our family as the perfect one. Because even though my brother walked in that day with a circle around a picture of the perfect Shih Tzu puppy that he wanted, when Peaches slowly got out of that laundry basket that first day we met, he chose to walk over to us and be by our side. Every other dog in that litter had crazy energy. They were running around, going bongos to the wall, but Peaches did not decide to play with them. He decided to cuddle with us. And ever since that day, 17 years later, he would still decide to cuddle with us every single day. We did not choose him. He chose us to be his family, and for that, I'm very, very grateful. Peaches was with me through every single chapter of my life, through growing up, going through school, meeting new friends, meeting new boys, and he even was with me throughout my whole YouTube journey because he starred in a lot of my videos. You all got to know Peaches and love him just like I do. And funny enough, wouldn't you know that after a little bit of time and a whole lot of cuteness, even my dad started to love our puppy Peaches too. If anything, I think my dad might have actually been the most attached to my dog Peaches, because it got to a point where I would try to be spending time with Peaches, but my dad would steal him away from me, or my dad would be making dinner. We'd go to eat dinner. I would go to grab a sausage or a piece of meat to put on my plate, and my dad would go, "Oh, no, sweetie. You thought that was for you? I cooked that meat for Peaches. So paws off." Okay, my bad. Sorry, Dad. Sorry, Peaches. That T-bone steak, ribeye, beef brisket, that is all yours. I will eat my can of tuna and call it a night. Everybody loved Peaches, and it was very, very, very hard not to love Peaches, because not only is he cute, but he also had the sassiest and brattiest personality. You would go to hug and kiss him, but he would low-key act like he didn't want to see you, even though you knew he was dying for attention. He was always trying to play games. Some might even say mind games. But at the end of the day, it didn't matter, because you knew that he loved you so much, just like we loved him. And it would be even more evident just how much he loved us when we started going through tough times of my dad falling very ill. There was a very hard period of years in my family where my dad was struggling with a genetic kidney disease. He became very, very sick, and nobody knew what was gonna happen. He spent a lot of time at home. He couldn't go to work, but I was also going to school. I was working. My family was doing the same. But through it all, my dog stayed with my dad, right by his side the whole time, and never left. You know, people always say dogs are so loyal, and I don't think anyone truly understands the extent of a dog's loyalty until you actually experience it yourself. You know, and there were times where my dad really wasn't doing well. There comes a point where you just don't know what to do. I didn't know what to say to make anything better, but the fact that my dog was there beside my dad, it just does something that I don't know how to explain and create some kind of relief, safety, love that a regular human would find it very, very hard to communicate. Peaches was the tiniest, the sometimes dirtiest, and also somehow the most Italian dog that I've ever met. My dad would give him a giant bowl of pasta with red tomato sauce and spaghetti, and Peaches would bury his face inside of that bowl of pasta and not even take one singular breath until he was all done. And since he has the most beautiful white fur, when he was done eating, that same white fur would be completely covered in sauce. Peaches was my absolute best friend in the whole entire world. He was a service dog to my dad. He was the third baby to my mom. He was my brother's first true love. And that's why when Peaches started getting older and became sick, none of us in the family really knew what to do. He just had cataracts in his eyes, which made his eyeballs all white and didn't allow him to see. He always had ear infections his whole life, but when he got older, he couldn't really hear at all. You know, I remember one time when he was probably around 15 years old, I brought Peaches to a dog athletic camp where they do those obstacle course races. And when we got there, I remember asking the trainer, you know, hey, my dog is kind of old. He's 15 years old. Is that okay? I see all these other dogs are really fast and running, super agile. And she said, don't worry, sweetie. Yes, your dog is older, but that's okay. We have tons of older dogs here. I said, great. Then I said, well, actually, there's another thing. My dog does have cataracts in his eyes, so his vision is pretty blurry. Can't see that well. She said, that's fine. When dogs have one sense that's not working very well, like his eyes, they accommodate it by using other senses, like their ears. So even though you might not be able to teach him tricks through his eyes, through movements with your hands, you can teach him how to navigate through these obstacle courses with sound. And I said, that's another problem that Peaches has. You know, he suffers with ear infections his whole life, and he doesn't actually hear that well. I mean, sometimes Peaches doesn't even hear his name. Then it was at that point that the trainer looked at me and said, yeah, sorry, sweetie. We can't help you. Your dog is not meant to be an obstacle course racer. And looking back, I'm like, what was I thinking? Peaches is 15 years old. He's a senior dog. He can't see well. He can't hear well. What am I doing bringing him to the most athletic place ever for dogs to have some dream of making him win some competition? I was delusional. And it was actually with that same kind of delusion that I kept thinking that my dog was going to live forever, because it was up until then that I honestly never thought about losing my dog at all. This was my first dog I've ever had. I never had to go through anything tragic with animals. I mean, I've lost my gerbils. I lost my pet bunny named Bella, but I never had those animals for this long. And at this point with Peaches, I've had him for 15 years. He was just as much as my family, as my mom, my dad, my brother, my family members coming over for Christmas time. I still remember one day after school, my friends came over to my house, and one of my friends thought it would be a good idea to throw my dog Peaches into our swimming pool. When I specifically told him that he's afraid of water, he threw my dog in anyways. And you would think at this point most dogs could swim and figure it out, but not Peaches. Peaches sunk to the bottom of that pool just like a brick would sink to the bottom of an ocean. When I tell you I jumped in that pool so fast to save my little sinking brick, Peaches, I got him out. I actually used to be a lifeguard, so it worked out. Peaches was fine, but my friendship with my friend, on the other hand, was not. Peaches was, and will always be my child, and I could not believe that that just happened to my poor little helpless baby. Peaches died in October, right before Christmas time. Nothing sudden happened to him, but he was just getting so old that every visit to the vet turned into a very uncomfortable conversation with the veterinarian, basically telling me that I should be putting him down. I didn't want to do it for a long time because I thought maybe he can get better. Maybe I could restore him back into health. When you have 4 or 5 or 6 conversations with the vet about the same thing, we finally decided it was time. It was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. My mom and I went to the vet and we stayed in this very cold, uncomfortable room on a couch where we had to say our goodbyes. And the vet said, take as long as you need, just knock on the door when you're ready. We didn't knock on the door. I did not want to let him go. And it wasn't until the 3rd or the 4th time that the vet came back into the room and said, guys, I think it's time. You know, when you have a dog for so long, you don't think about ever losing that dog, or at least I didn't. I had him in my life for 17 years. It's literally almost 70% of my entire life I've lived with Peaches. Even after all this time, I thought it would get easier missing Peaches and wanting him back, or maybe getting another dog to fill that void that I feel with him gone. But I just haven't been able to do that, and I don't think I want to do that as of right now, because to be honest, it feels like I'd be cheating on him. Every year I come out with new plushies on my channel. You know, it started off with Baby Nuggy, Saucy Nuggy, Dippy Nuggy, Cuddle Nuggy, Chili Nuggy. And with Peaches gone this year, I just couldn't think of what to do and didn't even know if I was gonna do anything this year because of this sadness that I feel. So that's why I decided this year that I would come out with Puppy Nuggy to honor Peaches, my dog, my love, and just somebody that I don't even feel like I deserve to have in the first place. You know, dogs just love you unconditionally, and that's the beauty of them and why they're so precious, and that's the real beauty of them. And since I don't feel like I can have another dog since Peaches is gone, because I'm just so afraid of losing something I love again, I thought if I make a plush dog in honor of Peaches, and this is something that could live forever, and I will never have to worry about losing my best friend again. Peaches was a white Shih Tzu with golden ears, but I really feel like the golden part of his ears is what his personality really was. He was just shining all the time like a star, a golden little nugget that I got blessed with, and that is why Puppy Nuggy is golden all around, to really symbolize the bright light that he was in my life. So if you were like me and your parents don't allow you to have a real dog, or right now you're like me and you're too scared to have another dog, I wanted to make this dog that can live forever and can be your best friend no matter what. I love you, Peaches. I miss you every day, and I will be hugging and cuddling Puppy Nuggy just like we used to do until we can finally get reunited. Yeah.